Hey guys, welcome to Mr. Valentin's review of Mouse. I'm going to explain the test format. I'm going to go over some sample questions, and we'll go on from there. So, let's begin. Alright guys, so your test is split into three main components. The first part is a multiple choice of 20 questions. This multiple choice is fairly straightforward. It comes from questions relating to your packet and relating to the story. The second part is 5 multiple choice questions that are a little more complex, and they have to do with filling in the blank of whatever's going on in that particular scene. So it's only 5 questions, and it's pulled directly from the text. And then you have short answers. You have 5 short answers, and you have to explain certain things from the text. So, let's begin. Things you definitely want to consider. You may want to just consider rereading the book. I know that sounds crazy, but the book is not particularly long, and it might be the best review you can do besides listening to this. Your study packet is helpful to a degree, but I find if you've paid attention in class and you've read the book, just a quick read through. The book is only 100 and change, alright, and with the pictures, you shouldn't spend more than 30 minutes. It might be the best review you can do, but I digress. Let's take a look at some of the things you should know. Alright, some of the things you should know. First up, you should definitely know the names of the chapters. Those are just basic questions that will appear on the test. I pull a couple questions from that. Alright. So, that's really easy information to find out. In fact, you have a chapter index. Alright, so you know chapter 1 is the Sheik, chapter 2 is the Honeymoon, chapter 3 is Prisoner of War, chapter 4 the Noose Titans, chapter 5 Mousehole, and chapter 6 Mousetrap. You should know what happens at the beginning of the book. Alright, the preface, as it were. Alright, think the scene, first Hitler's quote, alright, which states, alright, that the Jews are undoubtedly a race, but they are not human, and the scene at Rego Park. Where we kind of circle back, alright, from the end of the story, alright, to the beginning of the story with how the father has always treated, how Vladek has always treated Art. So we get that. You should know your characters, alright, obviously. Alright, Art, the main characters, that is. Alright, and your main characters for this really are Art, of course, Vladek, Anja, Mala, Lucia, Francois, who we don't meet too much of, but she's fairly important just for the sake of being Art's wife. And then, of course, you know, a handful of the supporting characters like Richu, alright, may be important. So, we have that. We should know about Mala's and Vladek's relationship, and how it's strained. What things cause the strain? Alright, from the wire hanger incident to various other things where they're picking fight from food to finances. That's very important. You should know some of the main images that we see. Alright, the really kind of big centerpieces of visuals that we had that I think are more striking, the kind of things that it would show on the smartboard. Things such as Vladek's arm tattoo, or the train scene where the swastika is in the center, or the crossroads that show are all done in a swastika as well. Those are kind of like some of the striking images that I would probably quiz you on. All right. We should know that they're drawn as mice. all right, and that this becomes a big, both a major symbol for our story. All right, so the mice, all right, are a symbol, which I think is important to our story, and that we forget that they're mice. That, I think, is even more impressive than anything else of the story. We should know how to describe Anja as this kind of sad, confused, homely, melancholic kind of character. She's just kind of not able to snap out of her emotions and is upset with herself. All right, and you should know the locations that she goes to, where she tries to seek help, and what happens to her in the Prisoner of the Hell Planet. That's important. You should know that the difference of what the story is trying to do, versus past versus present. All right, that when we're in the past, all right, we see borders in our story, all right, and when we're in the present, those borders seemingly disappear. The test follows a sequential order. So, taking a look at when they first meet, Anja and Vladik, all right, and they find out about like the communist boyfriend and how she runs to the seamstress and all that. Those are important details, I would definitely say. Know the animal representation, that the Jews are represented as mice. I was just reading a couple interesting things about this. That the Jews are mice, of course, satirizing the Nazis' portrayal of Jews as vermin, but also the initial quote of the Jews are undoubtedly a race, but they are not human, quote. Also, the German verb mauscheln, all right, which has the word mouse in it, mauscheln, means originally to talk like a Jew. So that's an interesting kind of thing that I just found out as I was doing some research. So there's that play. All right, we know that the cats are represented by the Germans, all right, which shows power. Because people are curious, all right, the dogs tend to be Americans. And the Poles, the Polish people, are pigs. Other things that you are maybe just curious about, but are certainly not on the test. The Roma are represented as gypsy moths because they're known as gypsies. The French are represented as frogs, which could be a whole bunch of reasons for that. The Swedes are represented by reindeer, which is, of course, a species native to the Swedes. The British are represented by fish. The time they were known for their naval supremacy. All right, but these are the four that you should know. So keep that in mind. There are two other supporting characters who you should know. You should know who Jan is, the person that Vladik shot, and you should know Nahum Kuhn, or Kohn, as it were, who was one of the people that were hanged. They're the only other supporting characters that I would give some acknowledgement to. All right, so we have that. Check. The next part of your test is multiple choice questions where I'm going to give you an image and you have to fill in the blank. And obviously you have fill in the blanks, so this is pretty straightforward. So these are events that I think would be clear as a bell if you read, and you read carefully, which most of you seem to have been doing. So, for example, the Germans intended to make an example of them. The next day I walked over to Madrowska. street and I saw them. So I might give you a couple of fill in the blanks there, such as, here we go. In the blank would be something like, politicians should know better, this is when we knew we were to leave, crimes against humanity, they hang there for 1 full week, dire situations that were. So you have to choose one of those sentences to go into that blank. And of course, we know the answers would be, they hanged there for 1 full week. They emphasized that. It was the title chapter of that chapter. So we knew this would be the perfect example. So this is the type of question you'll see in that section. The last part is 5 short responses. All I'm looking for is about 5 sentences per short answer. So some things you definitely want to think about. All right, major events. The idea of such as Parshas Truma. That's going to have, I could spell. That's going to be a major idea in your short answers. So know that. Know what happens both at the beginning of the novel, not just at Rego Park, but how Art reacts at the end of chapter 1 and how he's feeling. You might want to know symbolic representations of certain things. All right, such as the mice are depicted by Jews. The cats are Nazis. That kind of things. You want to definitely know about the Prisoner of Hell Planet comic. You might want to know about Vladik's POW experience. You might want to know about some of the terrible things, all right, that were occurring to Anja's family. And yeah, that, and I'm sure other things. I would definitely take a look at your packet. Again, I am sure if you've read the story and you've reviewed your notes, you'll be more than fine to pass this exam with flying colors. Do bring a pencil. It is Scantron. All right, it's 30 multiple choice Scantron. All right, and then of course your 5 short answers. So that's that. So I wish you the best of luck, and if there's any questions, feel free to bother me.